Right, let's get back to our short video tutorials on how to draw stuff using AutoCAD. Good, for today's video tutorial we're going to be drawing a longitudinal section for a length of sewer line. So I've prepared a simple sketch and I'll show it here. Okay, so what we have now is an opportunity to create a sewer longitudinal section using some pretty basic methodology that we discussed in one of our previous videos on cross sections. Okay, so the objective is to be able to draw and define the vertical alignment of the sewer pipe. Good, so let us begin. We're going to start by defining the axis for the longitudinal section. I'm simply going to draw a line that is 154 units long. There we go. Now, the objective of this particular long section is to draw a long section with a horizontal scale of 1 in 1,000 and a vertical scale of 1 in 200. In order to do that now, I need to multiply out the vertical scale so that when I draw a series of units in model space, that I select the correct unit, which represents 1 meter. So now I'm drawing at a scale of 1 in 200. I'm drawing in meters, so what I'm going to do is to say 1 divided by 200 times 1,000. So one drawing unit in model space is equal to 5 meters at a scale of 1 in 200. Okay, so the total vertical change in height between manhole B1 and manhole A6 is 7 meters. So I'm going to allow an additional 3 meters to give me some depth on my long section for the sewer alignment, so that's a total drop of 10 meters. Now, because the sewer line started at a level of 90 and I'm going to take 10 meters away, that means my datum will be at a level of 80 meters. Right, so I'm going to draw in a vertical axis that is 10 meters long. In order to do that, I have to multiply 10 by 5, so I'm going to get 50 drawing units. So let me go ahead and draw that. Vertically up, 50 units. And there I have it over there. Now I'm going to offset this line for the position of the sewer manholes along the horizontal length of the sewer line, and I know that manhole B2 is 50 meters away from manhole B1, so I'm going to offset this line by that distance, which is 50 meters. From there to there. I'm going to repeat the offset for manhole B3, which is 51 meters away from manhole B2. So, sorry, 51 meters, but didn't say that before. And now manhole A6 is the last manhole, and that is 53 meters away from manhole B3. So offset 53 from this point to that point, and you'll see that that lines up with the end of my line. So what I've done now provisionally is I have measured the length of the sewer line, I've imposed a vertical change in height, and I've positioned my manhole spacing along the line. So that's a good place to have a little pause and reflect on what we've done. Okay, so the next part of the video is going to be about creating the ground longitudinal section from manhole B1 to manhole A6 on our sewer line. Now, in order to do this, I need to be able to pick up the ground levels at specific points along the length of the pipe, and I'm going to start by finding out the ground level of manhole B1. From the drawing, I interpolate the height to be 90 meters above sea level. Okay, so what I need to do now is I need to use my datum of 80 meters and measure a line up, which is going to take me to level 90. In other words, 10 meters away. So I'm going to change my line color quickly to yellow, and I'm going to draw a line from the start at manhole B1, and this line has to go up 10 meters. So 10 meters in this case is going to be 50 units, and we know then that goes right up to the top of this line. For the ease of remembering where we are, I'm going to insert some text here just to remind us that the datum is actually at 80 meters. Good, so you see here I have a text height of 2.5, that's going to be fine. I'm going to write here datum, with the caps on, datum, never mind that, datum 80 meters. Good. Okay, so that was at manhole B1. Manhole B2, the level, I interpolate the level to be 87.250 meters. Now in order to measure that, I'm going to say 87.250 minus my datum level, which is 80. That's 7.25. I'm going to multiply that by 5. And I'm going to get a line that has to be 36.25 units long. 36.25. And that takes me to that point over there. And repeat the same process for manhole B3. The level at manhole B3 is 85.4. So 85.4 minus 83 times by 5 is 12 units long. 12. There we go. And now manhole A6, the level is, I interpolate the level to be 83.6 meters. So 83.6 minus 80 is 3.6 times 5 is equal to 18. So right, let me do that. Draw a line up here, and that is 18 units. This makes me think I made a bit of a mistake here. Thanks for pointing that out. It's very helpful of you. So manhole B3, we said the level was 85.4. 85.4 minus 80, not 83. 5.4 times 5 is 27. There we go. Good. So the top of each of these yellow lines then is the ground level at that particular point. Alright, so we're now ready to proceed with the next step of our ground long section, which is actually not drawing in the ground line from point to point. We need to fill in the bits of detail between the manholes, the ground levels between the manholes in case they change. And in order to do that, we need to measure the distance between the manholes and the contours that intersect the line between the manholes. Now, you might hear some dogs barking in the background. They're not my dogs, I don't know who they belong to. Okay, so manhole B1 falls on the 90 meter contour. The next contour, which is the 89 meter contour, is 10 meters away from manhole B1. So I'm going to now offset the distance of 10 meters from manhole B1. And I'm just going to change the color. And this then is the position of the 89 meter contour away from manhole B1. I'm going to do the same for the 88 meter contour, which is then 14 meters away from the 89 meter contour. So I'm going to offset this by 14 meters. There we go. And that's going to give me the position of the 88 meter contour. Now there are no more contours between manhole B1 and B2 which intersect the line between those two manholes. So the next offset is going to be after manhole B2. So the 87 meter contour is 6 meters away from manhole B2. So I'm going to offset 6 meters away from manhole B2. Let me change that line color. Clipboard, match properties, select that one, select that one. Okay, alright. Now the 86 meter contour is 26 meters away from the 87 meter contour, so offset, and now we're going to offset the distance of 26 meters. Hope I'm getting this right. There we go. Now there are no more contours between manhole B2 and B3. So now I'm going to move to manhole B3, and I see that the 85 meter contour is 13 meters away from manhole B3. So offset 13 meters. I'll offset from there to there. I'm going to change the color. Cyan. And then the 84 meter contour is 20 meters away from the 85 meter contour. So offset, the distance is 20. There we go. and there are no more contours between manhole B3 and manhole A6. So I'm finished with that part of the process. Having completed that process, it's now time to measure the heights of the various points. Okay, so we said the first contour was the 89 meter contour. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line up from this datum of 80 meters, and now the contour is 89 meters, so I'm going to say 89 minus 80 is 9 meters, and multiply that by 5, and I need to offset a line 45 meters from the base. So again, let me just change to the magenta line, and I'm going to draw a line up from the datum, and that's going to be up 45 units to that point. Good. Now obviously the next line is going to be 1 meter lower, so that's going to be 40 units. The next line is 1 meter lower than that, so that's going to be 35 units in this case. The next line will be 30 units, and that's because I'm working in 1 meter intervals in this particular case. And then 25 units. This 25 units represents 5 meters. And then the last one, 20 units. Good, and that represents the spread of the contours from manhole B1 to manhole A6. Right, so what remains now is to draw in the ground line. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to change my line color to green. I'm going to select a polyline, and I'm going to simply draw a line connecting all the tops of the various lines that I've positioned. There we go, there we go. To there, to there, to there, and to there. Good. Okay, so that gives me the ground line from manhole B1 to A6, and I want this, of course, to be a dashed line. Sorry, line type. I see I need to load it. Other, load. Let's go with dashed or dash 2. Let's go with dash 2, see what that looks like. Okay, so this line here needs to be line type dash 2. Okay. Right, that's fine for now. So what I've effectively drawn in now is the ground line, and this is where we can go and have a quick pause. Okay, having drawn in the ground line, there's now an opportunity for us to tidy up our drawing a little bit. So I'm going to switch on, create some layers. I'm going to create some new layers, and one of the layers I'm going to label is construction lines. And I'm going to set these not to print, and I'm going to make good. Okay, so I'm going to put all the lines that I use to calculate the vertical positions. I'm going to make those construction lines. I want to choose the yellow one there, the yellow one here, and the yellow one here, and I'll put those onto layer construction lines. Okay, so what you can see is if I did switch the construction line layer off, then I would be left with the ground line and the manhole positions. Okay, so the next step then is going to be to draw in the sewer vertical alignment based on our ground profile. So in order to do that, we're going to set some constraints. I'm going to say, for the purpose of this tutorial, that the sewer line cannot be shallower than 1 meter below ground surface, which means that the sewer has to be deeper than 1 meter. Now, how I'm going to achieve that is I'm going to offset this ground line by 1 meter. Now remember, 1 meter is 5 drawing units in this case, because I'm working at a vertical scale of 1 in 200. So right now I'm going to offset, and I'm going to offset this line by a distance of 5 units. So the ground line is going to come down. I'm just going to change the color so I don't get confused. I'm going to make it, let's go with magenta. Important to note that sewers run at a constant grade between manholes. Okay, so what I have here is some point which is 1 meter below ground level, and here is another point which is 1 meter below ground level. But if I had to draw in a line from this point to that point, you will see that there's a portion of the line that is above ground level, above 1 meter deep. So that's not going to work out for me. I now need to construct some kind of line that is as flat as possible, as shallow as possible, but still meets the minimum design gradients, and in your case the minimum design gradient would be 1%. Okay, so I'm going to start, just for the purpose of this exercise, with some point slightly below, and take a straight line through past this point here, which is a little bit of a kink in the line, as close as I can, even on it. Actually, I'm going to take it straight to that point. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to extend it to this line over here. Line. Good. Okay. So that's going to give me a pretty shallow line. I could, of course, made it a little bit flatter here, made this yellow line come up to this magenta line, but that would have pushed this line deeper. So I'm quite happy with that for now. So I'm going to do another line now from this point to that point, and now again I have the same story where I have sort of double kinks, and I'm just going to make this one touch approximately over there. Good. And that's good enough for what we're required to do as part of our drawing function. The sewer design function is something that we learn about at a later stage. So what I now have is a provisional sewer alignment going from manhole B1 to manhole A6. So the next part of the process is to construct the information table below the long section. We're going to offset a couple of lines to create space to fill in the details. Now the information table underneath the longitudinal section will vary depending on the kind of service it is that you are designing or that you are drafting. And I'm going to use a pretty basic one for a sewer longitudinal section. I'm not going to go step by step, I'm just going to get you started off, and then at the end of the video I'll show you what the final longitudinal section might look like. Okay, so I'm going to be using text that is 2.5 millimeters tall, and what I find is that if I'm using text that's 2.5 millimeters tall, style ISO, that I'm going to need a line, a gap between the lines which is approximately 15 units long. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. I'm going to offset the datum line by 15 drawing units. Here, more, and in this table I will fill in bits of information. Now I'm not going to draw all the lines and fill all the columns, but these are the rows where I'll fill in bits of information. I'm going to go ahead and continue these manhole lines straight through to the bottom of the table. So I'm going to use the extend function. Come on. There we go. Straight through to the bottom. Now to create the space for some headings, I'm going to offset this first manhole line. I'm just going to go offset it by 80. Give yourself about approximately 8 centimeters. Okay, let's try that again. Offset 80. Right. There we go to there. I'm going to extend this line through. Actually, I'm going to extend all these lines. Extend that line. Oh wait, something's not working. Repeat extend. Select this one. Right click. Let's do those. There we go. Okay. I'm going to reduce this one to there. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off the manhole lines above the ground line. So trim, select the polyline, and I'm going to trim off these guys over there. Good. Okay, so now what I have is a vertical line which represents a manhole, and I have horizontal lines which are rows in which I'm going to fill information. So in the first row I'm going to fill in the ground levels at the various manholes. In the bottom row I'm going to put in the names of the manholes. So let me go ahead and do that for you now. Okay, so what we see here is that I've taken the liberty of expanding the table and filling in a bit of information that you might be required to complete in your exam. You'll see on the left hand side of the table I have the ground level, final cover level, invert level, that's of the pipe, excavation depth, distance between structures and cumulative distance, as well as the names of the drainage structures. So the ground levels at the various manholes are filled in, and these correspond with the levels along the ground. I now need to put in the invert levels. Okay, now the invert level is the level at the bottom of the pipe. To calculate that invert level, I'm simply going to measure the distance from the pipe to the datum, and I see that is 39.387 units, so 39.387. Multiply that by 5, divide that by 5, 39.387 divided by 5 gives me 7.87 meters. I'm going to add that to 80. I'll get a height or an invert level of 87.877 meters. Okay, so I'm going to go to copy this text over here, position that over there, and edit this to say 87.877 meters. And I'll do the same for the rest of them. Okay, so let's see how that works out. What am I doing? Measuring from 80 meters up to the invert level, which is 10.4506. 10.4506 divided by 5 is 2.09. I add that to the datum of 80 and I get 82.090. So copy this text, position it down here, and modify that to say 82.090 meters. Good, so now I have the invert levels. The depth, excavation depth, is simply the ground level minus the invert level. Ground level minus invert level, ground level minus invert level. You guessed it, ground level minus invert level. The distances between structures are the distances here between structures. So between B1 and B2 will be 50 meters, between B2 and B3 will be 51 meters, and between B3 and A6 will be 53 meters. Cumulatively though, in this block I will have 50 meters, here I will have 101 meters, and finally I will have 154 meters. So let me go ahead and fill in that for you now. Right, there we go. So I filled in the balance of the information in the table. Let's have a quick look at what I've done just to make sure that we understand. I have filled in the excavation depths, which I get from subtracting the invert level from the ground level. In this case, the final cover level matches the ground level because my manholes will be constructed up until ground level. This could change, however, if you decided that you wanted your manholes to stick out the ground by 250 or 500 mils, but that'll be specified. Then the distance between the structures are filled in cumulatively. I've also added the horizontal scale. Oh, sorry, this is in fact incorrect. Let me just change this. This is the oh, it's getting worse. This is the vertical scale, and this is the horizontal scale. Good. Thanks for spotting that. Okay, I've got my datum of 80 meters, and I have also added a title at the bottom here, sewer longitudinal section, manhole B1 to manhole A6. Now in some of the tutorials that we've done, we've also included horizontal lines showing the 1 meter interval. So let me go and put that in now just for the sake of consistency. So that's going to be color 9, and these lines are going to be in 1 meter intervals, so 5 drawing units at a scale of 1 in 200. Alright, let's do that. Let's offset, enter, 5, enter, just for the sake of completeness. So these obviously go up in 1 meter intervals. I can do it. There we go. Good. So that's showing me 1 meter intervals. And if you want to add a bit more information, you could also put the levels of each of these lines going up from 80, 81, etc., but not necessarily a requirement. Okay, so that's my drawing done now. I want to print it out, so which will be the final stages of your evaluation. So create my layout. Let's do that. So layout, page setup manager. Modify. We're going to try for an ISO A4 page now, see if it fits on. I may in the test environment specify an A2 page or something just to make sure we can fit it on. Drawing to PDF. ISO A4 layout, that's all correct. Let's say, oh no, we want to change this to default NMMS for project. Okay, close. I'm going to create my viewport, make it a bit bigger. What I'm going to do here, actually I'm going to use my viewport as part of the title block, so I'm going to make it blue. Let's sort out the scale quickly, so double click inside, Z, enter S, enter 1xp. Oh, that didn't work at all. Let's try that again. Z, enter S, enter 1xp. There we go, so there it is. Okay, so I'm going to just position this up in the corner here. There we go. I'm going to lock my viewport. Display locked. Yes. Okay, so now I'm just going to measure here quickly. I'm going to draw a line in paper space. I'm expecting this one to be 50 mils long. Yes, it is 50 millimeters. I'm going to expect, I'm just delete it for the sake of completeness. Now I want to measure this gap here, and I'm expecting that to also be 5 millimeters. There we go, 5. Let me delete that. So double click back in model space. I want to delete that line. Good. Back to paper space. Okay, and now what remains is to construct my title block. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I feel like I have completed my drawing at this stage. I have my scales, I have my datum, I have all my information, I have my ground long section, I have my sewer pipe invert level, my vertical alignment, my manhole spacing, and I have my drawing title block. So let's see now and check as a final stage what it's going to print like. So let's go to plot, make sure everything's okay, preview, and there we go. That's my final product, and I can go ahead and save that now. Alright, so thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you find it helpful. I hope it helps to clear up any misconceptions you might have had, or helps you answer any questions you might have had. If you're still stuck, please come and see me or contact me via email. Don't forget to ask your classmates for assistance as well. And I look forward to our next video. Thank you for joining.